been a few weeks since we were finally shown the teaser trailer for the Super Mario Bros. Movie. To say it exceeded expectations would be an understatement. Okay, well I guess except for Chris Pratt's voice, that was just about what we expected. What I mean is that the trailer made this movie look at least pretty good, and I know a lot of the internet was pretty on board with the idea that this movie was gonna be hot garbage. Don't get me wrong, it still absolutely could be, but I think it's safe to say that there's at least a bit of hope here. One thing that really got me excited though was just how much they seem to be tying this movie into the games. I mean, just on the poster alone, there's a reference to almost every major 3D Mario game. Oh, and I was also excited for the Dry Bones reveal. But for today's video, I thought it would be really fun to talk about some of my predictions for the movie. I've got a fairly big list here, and I know this may not be the most original video idea, but I thought it'd be a lot of fun to talk about. Also, this video can act as a sort of test run to see if I make any future videos on the movie, because copyright with movie stuff can be really annoying. For that reason, this video will mostly just be gameplay, so I apologize for that. But with that said, if you enjoyed this video and want more videos on the Mario movie, then make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. But with that said, let's jump right into my first prediction. While I'm not going to be ordering this video in any sort of way, I do want to start with what I think is likely the most common prediction, that Mario is going to start the movie in New Donk City. Obviously, as we could tell by the trailer, this is Mario's first time in the Mushroom Kingdom. He has to have come from somewhere though, and I really don't see why they would pick anywhere other than New Donk City. For one, this is the canonical location of the first Donkey Kong, so starting Mario off in the same place he started off in the real world would be pretty neat. As a second bit of evidence here, one of the very few confirmed characters from the movie is Foreman Spike, which comparatively to everyone else they've revealed is incredibly obscure, only ever appearing in Wrecking Crew. Seeing as he did get a big mention in the original cast announcements, I think it's safe to say he'll play a decent role in the film, and I see him most likely being Mario and Luigi's boss. And obviously, Wrecking Crew takes place in a city area, which brings us back around to New Donk City. And as my final piece of evidence for this theory, we have the numerous references to Odyssey on the poster. If you take a look at Toad's backpack, you'll see that two of his buttons feature Fossil Falls and Tostarena, which are obviously two levels seen in Mario Odyssey. Additionally, a version of the poster has been discovered, which is just the background, and as it turns out, Mario is actually standing directly in front of what seems to be the Crazy Cap store, otherwise known as the store seen in most of Odyssey's kingdoms. So if they are willing to reference Odyssey this much, and we can be fairly sure the Mario Bros will be starting in some sort of city, I really don't see them picking anywhere but New Donk City. I mean, at this point, I'd probably be upset if they didn't. This is the only prediction in the whole video that I'd be disappointed about if it didn't come true. Maybe that's just because Odyssey is my favorite game ever and I want it to have a large focus, but yeah, I think New Donk City will be there. But on the topic of New Donk City, we have to talk about the character that is strongly associated with the location, that being Pauline. Whether or not she's in the movie can really go either way for me. Let's just assume that New Donk City is definitely going to be in the film. It would feel really strange if there was not at least a mention of Pauline here, even if at this point of the story she's not yet the mayor. One thing that could go against her inclusion would be the simple fact that we don't already know she's here. I mean, they were fine revealing Foreman Spike, a pretty obscure character, but they didn't reveal Pauline? That does seem a bit strange, though they could very well be not revealing her as to make New Donk City's inclusion more of a surprise. Like I said, she's so tied to the city that if we saw her cast, it would be pretty unlikely the city wouldn't also show up with her. But what do I think? Will she be there or not? Honestly, I think she will. I don't think she would have that big of a role though. I wouldn't be surprised if she's only in the very beginning of the film, but I do think she will be there. It would just feel way too weird to have New Donk City without her. Okay, this next prediction is going to be a lot more vague than the last two, but I think that this movie won't really lean that far into any one specific Mario game. I mean, that is a little obvious. This is the Super Mario Bros. Movie after all, and seeing as it's their first, you don't count, they probably want to make it as general as possible. Now yeah, I know most Mario games follow very similar plot lines, but many of the 3D games do have pretty distinct stories and locations. The Galaxy games take place in space, Sunshine takes place on Al Delfino, and Odyssey has a ton of other locations along with new characters like Cappy and the Brutals. While I do think all of those games will get referenced and even featured in some ways, they won't play major roles in the story. The game I think this will be closest to is definitely Mario 64. Again, I'm not saying this will be a Mario 64 movie, but I think there is going to be a bunch taken from there plot-wise. Primarily, this is based on Bowser stealing the Power Star from the Penguins. This is of course partially what he does in Mario 64, and since that game plot-wise is pretty standard from the whole Mario series, I think it'll have the strongest focus, at least for this movie. Heck, even the Penguins Bowser attacks got their start in Mario 64. As far as we know, this could be a reinterpretation of Cool Cool Mountain or Snowman's Land. So yeah, plot-wise, I believe this will stick very closely to the most basic Mario story possible. Sort of building off of that last theory, I do not think we'll see the Koopalings or Bowser Jr. at all. Or at the very least not during the actual movie. I'll explain what I mean by that in a second. To me, based on everything we've seen, I just don't think they'll fit in very well. This movie seems to be about Bowser going through the different kingdoms and stealing their power stars, which is very separated from the Koopalings and Jr. What I think they will do though is save these guys for a sequel. I mean, to me, they just seem like sequel characters. Definitely very important to the Mario universe, but not necessarily characters that need to be in a first movie. Kind of like Knuckles and Sonic, definitely an important character, but he didn't need to be in the first movie, so they saved him for the sequel. I could see a second Mario movie having a strong focus on the Koopalings and Jr., possibly even being Bowser's motivation in that film. In fact, I could even see them setting up the Koopalings in some sort of post-credit scene, if they plan on having any of those. I'm not saying I don't want the Koopalings, of course, I really like most of them, but I just feel like they don't have a big part to play in this first movie. One interesting aspect of the trailer was the fact that we didn't see Peach at all. My main question is, what role will she have in the movie? In most Mario games, she's obviously the person to be kidnapped for Mario to rescue. However, that's not the case for every Mario game. Super Mario Bros. 2 USA and 3D World both have Peach be playable instead, so there is a good chance she doesn't get kidnapped here. Despite that though, I really don't see them doing anything but her being kidnapped. That is such an iconic part of the whole Mario series that it would feel sort of out of place for it to not be included. But if Bowser is after Power Stars, why would he go for Peach? Well, I think in the case of this first movie, his motivation will be trying to get a Power Star from her, so he takes her away in order to do so. In games like Odyssey, it's portrayed that Bowser has a crush on Peach and wants to marry her, though I don't think they'll go that route completely for this movie. Maybe Bowser will have a little bit of feelings for her, but I think his primary objective will be getting the Power Stars. Who knows, maybe his crush could develop for a future Odyssey-themed sequel. Another reason I think Peach will be kidnapped is because it would likely give Mario a motivation to stop Bowser. Considering he likely starts the film as just a normal dude, it would be really hard to justify him fighting off an entire Koopa army to stop them from getting Power Stars, which he likely knows nothing about. I bet he'll spend a lot of time with Peach when he first arrives, and they'll become good friends, before Bowser inevitably attacks, which makes Mario want to save her. To me, everything just makes sense that Peach will indeed be kidnapped by Bowser in the film. Now, we only got a small glimpse of Luigi in the teaser where he was running from a horde of tribals. Seeing as this is called the Super Mario Bros. Movie, I think it's safe to say Luigi will play at least a decent role in the story, but to what extent will he be in the movie? From everything that I can tell, it seems that Mario will likely enter into the warp pipe that brings him into the Mushroom Kingdom alone, seeing as he is by himself and doesn't seem to be looking for Luigi. I'm going to guess that Luigi will spend a large portion of the film trying to find Mario himself, before eventually ending up in the Mushroom Kingdom too. It seems to me like they're setting up Toad to be Mario's main companion in this film, as he's likely the first person he meets in the Mushroom Kingdom. I'm going to guess that Mario and Toad work together to try and rescue Peach or stop Bowser from getting the Power Stars, and Luigi will be on the lookout for Mario until they eventually rejoin near the end. The reunion could be earlier than that in the film, but I think they will spend a decent chunk of it apart. Speaking of Toad, alongside this being Mario's origin story, I think this will be Toad's origin story too, or more specifically, Captain Toad's origin story. Captain Toad is obviously the most prominent Toad in the Mario series, even getting his own spin-off game, so it would make sense that the Toad here would represent him. He's even got the backpack of Captain Toad, even those buttons we mentioned earlier are all places that Captain Toad visited at some point. Now, I don't think he'll be Captain Toad from the very start, but through his journey with Mario, he'll be able to eventually become that. Even if they don't explicitly say that he's Captain Toad, I think it's safe to say he's his stand-in, which would make this film being an origin for the character make a lot of sense. Okay, jumping away from plot stuff, I want to talk about a more fun one, and that is that I think there will at least be one reference to a non-Mario Nintendo series, more than likely being Zelda. Nintendo has a huge catalog of different iconic franchises. That's one of the main reasons Smash Bros is so successful, so it would absolutely not surprise me at all if there is some sort of minor reference to something else in the film. No, I don't think it'll play a part in the plot at all, I'm assuming this will be strictly a Mario movie, but I do think there will be an Easter egg or two to something other than just Mario. Speaking of Smash Bros though, there has been a lot of discussion about a possible Smash Bros animated universe. Now no, it will absolutely not be with the Detective Pikachu and Sonic movies, those are live action so that would be stupid, but they could be making a wholly original Smash universe. I've seen a lot of people say that something like that couldn't work, but I honestly don't see why not. Saying how successful stuff like Marvel has been, I'm sure Nintendo would definitely not be against the idea of a shared animated universe. If they were to do that, I bet they would make a Mario, Zelda, Kirby, and Pokemon movie for this universe, since I feel like those are the four main series in Smash Bros, as you can see in the Melee opening and the announcement for Brawl. Again though, that's if they do something like this. There's a very good chance they won't, but I figured I'd share the possibility. As of right now, the two most mysterious characters that we know the voices for are definitely Donkey Kong and Cranky Kong. They didn't make any sort of appearance in the trailer or on the poster. I feel like they wouldn't have a minor role either, seeing as Donkey Kong got a dedicated screen to him like the other main 5 characters did in the casting announcement. Now yeah, that might just be because Donkey Kong is a very popular character on the level of those 5, but I feel like he wouldn't have gotten that much attention had he not been important to the story. I have 2 ways in my mind that these 2 characters could possibly be included. First off, they may use them to reference the original Donkey Kong in New Donk City, considering that is the canon location that game took place. Now, I really can't see Mario fighting Donkey Kong, especially if it's before the Mushroom Kingdom, but the possibility is there. My second idea is maybe Bowser and his army attack the Kongs to get a Power Star, and thus the Kongs help Mario defeat him. If that were the case though, I feel like Diddy Kong would be there as he's a much more popular character than Cranky, so why wouldn't he be on the casting list? With how little detail we have of the film, it's extremely difficult to tell what roles these 2 will play at the moment. I do at least think Donkey Kong will play a decently sized role in the story, though it won't be nearly as big as the other 5 characters. Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if his role is closer in size to the 3 smaller characters that got casted, and he just got his own screen due to the popularity of the character. We spent a lot of time looking at characters today, so I thought we should end this off by rapid firing through a bunch of characters in the Mario series and saying whether or not they'll be in the film. Goombas will almost certainly be in the movie. They're just as, if not more iconic than the Koopas, so I'd be shocked if they aren't. Shy Guy is more of a 50-50, as while he is iconic, he doesn't usually appear in mainline titles. Honestly though, I think he will appear in the movie, but just as an Easter egg of some kind. Cringe will not be in the movie, and if she is in the movie, it sucks. Piranha Plant and Lakitu are also both very popular enemies, so I would be shocked if they didn't appear. Boom Boom I could actually see making an appearance as a high-ranked member in Bowser's army. He's an iconic boss, though unlike the Koopalings, he's not one of Bowser's kids, so I think he could be thrown in. Toadette probably will be there because we're going to the Mushroom Kingdom, and she is an extremely iconic character, especially considering they've been using her a lot more lately in games like New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe and Mario Maker 2. While King Boo is definitely fairly well known, I just don't think he'd fit very well in this movie. He's much better suited to be a main antagonist in a Luigi's Mansion movie or something. Daisy, funnily enough, has already been referenced on the poster with her signature Daisy icon being visible. I wouldn't be surprised if she and Sarasaland are referenced in the movie, but I don't think she'll play any sort of role in the story. In a similar boat to her, Yoshi is also referenced on the poster with his egg making an appearance. However, unlike Daisy, I don't really see him playing much of a role. Honestly, if Yoshi were to play a big part, I don't think they would have put his egg on the poster in order to keep him as a surprise. He is such a big character though that there's no way he wouldn't at least be referenced in the film. Oh, and I guess while we're on Yoshi, I don't see Birdo being there. She's a niche character, and if Yoshi isn't gonna have a role, there's no way Birdo will. And our final 2 characters I want to take a look at are both Wario and Waluigi. These 2 were definitely the hardest for me to come to any sort of conclusion on. They're both some of the most iconic characters in the series, though they don't usually appear in mainline games. Since they are so popular though, I do think they'll appear in the film. I wouldn't be shocked if they worked with Mario and Luigi at the start, as they all share the same sort of outfits. I don't think they'll play major roles at all, maybe just be sort of comic relief at the start, but I do think there's at least a pretty decent chance they will appear in the movie. But anyways, that's it for this video. Do you all think Donkey Kong and a minion will have a bloody fight over a banana in the movie? Let me know in the comments. I know that this was pretty different from most of my other videos, but this was something I really wanted to make since I am fairly excited for this movie. If you want more content on the movie as more trailers release, let me know because I'd love to make more. But anyways, dry bones for Smash, and I'll see you guys next time.